back to Unintentionally Frenchified. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. So today's video is focusing on some of those sneaky words that are actually French that we use in the English language all the time. I didn't know until I started learning French and speaking French how many French words we actually borrow in the English language. It's like over 7,000. And some of those words are a little bit more obvious than others, but today we're going to focus on some of those cheeky words that I had no idea were actually French until I started learning French. Before we jump into our words, I want to talk to everybody about the upcoming Lingoda Language Sprints. Now, I've been working with Lingoda for almost a year now, so I know that some of you have already heard me talk about the 100% cashback language sprints. I can attest, as well as 35,000 other people who have already participated in a Lingoda language sprint, at what point these sprints really kickstart your language skills and help you start speaking confidently in just 3 months. And lucky you guys, there is a sprint that's starting on January 15th of 2021. New Year's resolution, anyone? Like usual, you can sign up for the Super Sprint, which is 30 classes a month for 3 months and 100% cash back, or you can sign up for the Sprint, which is 15 classes a month for 3 months and you get 50% back. But what's not the same as usual is that from me, you guys are going to get a Zoom class. So for the very first 5 people that sign up for the Lingoda Language Sprint, I'm gonna hop on a Zoom call with you and we can talk anything. Lingoda Language Sprint, moving to France, YouTube, whatever questions you've got for me, I'm willing to answer. Spots are limited for the sprints, guys, so make sure that you sign up as early as you can and use my code to get 10 euros off the 49 euro deposit. I've said it before, but just in case you all need a repeat, Lingoda Language really delivers results. So if you want to transform your language skills and you really want to get on top of it in 2021, whether it's French or German or English or Spanish, this is the right thing for you. All right, guys, otherwise, let's get back to our words. C'est parti. Guys, I grew up in the Midwest. We are surrounded by cornfields, smiley people, and cul-de-sacs. And I never question why this 3-word phrase that, I never see these words anywhere else is why we call these dead-end streets with houses around it, but we did. And come to find out that this is a French word. But bizarrely enough, it wasn't used for the same way we use it in English today. It was actually related to anatomy and it meant the bottom of a sack. So it does make sense why we used it for dead-end streets with a circle at the end in the houses, because it kind of looks like a sack. But I don't think the French ever actually used this word more than for anatomy. To be honest, let me know in the comments below, but I had never heard a French person refer to a dead-end street with houses as a cul-de-sac. So, to be determined. She just has a certain savoir-faire about her. Whenever I say this word in English, I kind of want to say it with a posh accent, or just something needs to be a little bit extra when I say it. So even if I didn't connect the dots before learning French, I should have known that this was not an English word. But what savoir-faire really means is kind of a certain know-how. So it can mean a technical skill, like a know-how that you have maybe in a niche that no one else has, but usually it refers to having this something in a social setting or a diplomatic setting. So nobody has ever told me that I have a savoir-faire, so I'm not sure if that's surprising. Anyone else grow up there with grandparents, parents, anyone who raised you, sister or sibling, who loved a good potpourri? Because I did. We used to have sprinkled around the house and nice fancy bowls, this mix of dried flowers and herbs and spices that would then perfume up a room. It was way before there were wax candles and scentsies. I didn't realize that the word potpourri was French, and now when I've done a bit of research about it, what this actually means in French is a putrid pot. And when we took the word potpourri and we borrowed it in English, it didn't actually mean beautiful dried flowers that give a gorgeous scent in your house when we first started using it. It actually meant a rotten, smelly soup. So I have no idea how we went from something that smells gross to something that smells beautiful, but this word was used a lot for me. Kudeta is a fabulous example of a word that is still used both the same in French and English. I remember learning about the word kudeta in history class when we were learning about governments that were violently overthrown. I think what's interesting is that French is normally a language that when you are constructing a sentence, it takes more words to construct properly than English. So you tend to have to use more words to say what you mean in French versus English. I think it's quite funny that this is an example of the opposite, where a kudeta would need to be translated into English as a knockout blow to an existing administration within a state. And so then we just borrowed the word kudeta because it was easier, and 200 years later, it's still in use. I used to love going to matinee showings of a movie with my family because it meant no lines, it meant no people, so we got to sit wherever we wanted, and now I know my parents are probably really happy because it meant a cheaper movie theater. So what I didn't actually know is that matinee is a French word and it comes from the word matin. And matin means morning, so it kind of makes sense that matinee films would be the films that we see earlier in the afternoon, not necessarily morning, but still earlier than the very popular nighttime showings. I don't think you can be a kid without having loved a good session of paper mache, where you'd get all your paper and you'd mix it up with the glue-like substance, and then you'd mold it onto something and paint over it, and then present it to your parents like it was the most beautiful artwork they've ever seen. What I did not know, though, was that paper mache is French, and it means chewed up paper, which is kind of what that blob of stuff looked like. And it apparently got its name because French people used to take paper and stick it in their mouths and chew it up and spit it out to make things out of it. Delightful. Please RSVP for my birthday party. This is what I remembered about RSVP. It just meant, please tell me if you can come to my birthday party or not. I never actually questioned what the acronym was, and the acronym is Répondez s'il vous plaît. So it's literally, respond back to me, please. And what I think is kind of interesting is that the French don't actually really use RSVP. They find it, I guess, a bit outdated and old-fashioned, and to be honest, I've never seen it on an invitation here for anything. But I'm not convinced it's gonna lose its trend in the US anytime soon, because for the most part, anything that is French we tend to think is quite fancy. One hot second in my life, I wanted to be an air pilot. This was like when I was a kid, pre-September 11th days, when you could go into the cockpit with the pilots and you got to sit in their lap and they'd give you like little wings, and it was awesome. And I remember one of them telling me that if the plane is ever into any trouble, I take my radio and I say, Mayday, Mayday, and people are there to help. And I thought Mayday was the month of May and the word day. I didn't realize that it was spelled Mayday like in French, help me. And I actually learned in French high school class that the reason that we say Mayday is because the word SOS wasn't very distinguishable over the radio, and so they wanted to choose a word that you could really understand if there was trouble, and so they chose Mayday, help me in French. Mind blown. Alright, I'm going to wrap up today's video with carte blanche. I remember when I was younger, when my friend's mom used to say, okay, I'm going to go upstairs and make dinner for you guys, like carte blanche to do whatever you want. And I didn't actually know what the words meant, but I knew it meant like freedom, 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 freedom. This is a really good example of a word that's actually completely used in the same way in France today still. You say carte blanche in French, and kids know what you mean. Freedom. Words. Alright guys, you've got my list of 9 French words that we use in English all the time. If you've got more to add them in the comments below. I will see everybody next week. Bisous!